Once I got out of college, I came to the pros, and, well, how's he going to do? He won't be able to get his jump shot off in the pros, or he won't be quick enough, or he won't be able to rebound. And I think it took me probably 3 days after a rookie camp. I found out that, hey, this league is nothing. I can play in this league, and I will dominate in this league.
Larry Bird wasn't just a basketball player. He was a battlefield general, a fierce competitor who thrived on intensity and the adrenaline of the game's biggest moments. But even legends need worthy adversaries to define their greatness, and Bird faced warriors who tested the very fabric of his basketball brilliance. They pushed Bird to his limits and humbled him on some nights. Let's dive into Bird's toughest battles, the stories that prove why these matchups were basketball history in the making. Julius Erving, air versus ground. Bird and Julius Erving were rivals that couldn't have been more different, yet they electrified the NBA with every matchup. Bird embodied hard work, sharp basketball instincts, and a sniper-like precision from deep, while Erving, better known as Dr. J, was the flashiest dunking artist the league had ever seen. Dr. J's insane ability to glide through the air was the stuff of legend, and Bird's grit made him a relentless presence on the floor. Together, they turned Celtics versus 76ers games in the 1980s into must-watch battles as the two teams regularly fought for control of the Eastern Conference. These heated matchups reached another level in 1984 during what's considered one of the most famous player altercations in basketball history. Bird's unmatched trash-talking, one of his trademarks, finally pushed Dr. J over the edge, leading to an intense physical fight that had both stars putting their hands around each other's throats. While this moment might have surprised fans, it highlighted the sheer intensity and passion that fueled their rivalry. For Bird, winning wasn't just the goal, it was personal. And for Erving, standing up to a competitor so fierce was proof of his own mental toughness. Though they clashed often, Bird couldn't help but admire Erving's unique style of play. He once said, he could fly over you, dunk on you, or just make you feel helpless. It didn't matter. For Dr. J, Bird wasn't just any player. He was someone who forced him to bring his A-game every time. Off the court, mutual respect grew as both legends realized their rivalry had solidified their places in basketball history. The Celtics and Sixers may have fought for dominance, but Bird versus Dr. J was about proving who truly ruled the hardwood. Dominique Wilkins, the human highlight film. When Bird went up against Dominique Wilkins, fans were guaranteed one thing, a show they'd never forget. Dominique, famously dubbed the human highlight film, wasn't just a player. He was an artist on the court, blending insane scoring ability with electrifying dunks that would send the crowd into a frenzy. But when matched with Bird, things became personal. These weren't just games, they were raw, intense battles between two warriors who refused to back down. Celtics versus Hawks clashes in the 1980s defined Eastern Conference chaos. The rivalry reached its peak in Game 7 of the 1988 Eastern Conference semifinals, a duel that remains one of the greatest in playoff history. Dominique dropped an astonishing 47 points in a Herculean effort, but Bird was just as unforgiving. With the game on the line, Bird turned into a scoring machine in the fourth quarter, pouring in 20 critical points to steal the series and the win. Reflecting on that game, Bird remarked Dominique could score anywhere, anytime. It didn't matter who was in front of him. On that night, Bird's switch-flipping ability proved undeniable, making him unstoppable when it mattered most. Dominique wasn't shy about respecting his rival. In interviews over the years, he said that Bird had a way of piercing your confidence, calling him the ultimate competitor who always knew exactly how to beat you. Their battles on the court weren't just about skill. They were wars of will, where mental toughness and determination separated the good from the great. For fans watching, this was pure magic, and with every showdown, Bird and Dominique cemented themselves in playoff lore. Magic Johnson, the rivalry that defined an era. Some rivalries are meant to change the sport forever, and Bird versus Magic was exactly that. Rising to fame at the same time, these two legends didn't just represent their teams, they became the faces of the NBA. Bird's blue-collar grit personified the hard-working Celtics, while Magic's charismatic flair embodied the fast-paced, glamorous Showtime Lakers. Their epic clashes in the 80s elevated basketball from a competition into a cultural phenomenon. The rivalry came to a head in 3 thrilling NBA finals that forever marked basketball history. Most notably, the 1984 finals was a war that captured the league's full attention. Bird's dominant performance throughout the 7-game series earned him Finals MVP and delivered the Celtics a hard-fought victory over Magic's Lakers. Magic admitted that playing against Bird was like going to war every single game. He praised Bird's ability to play smarter than anyone else and called him scary for how quickly Bird could shift momentum in his favor. Years later, during interviews, Magic also acknowledged that Bird's intense competitiveness raised his own game to new heights. "Larry brought something out of me," Magic said. "Every time I faced him, I knew I had to be better than I'd ever been." Their battles weren't just about championships. They were about proving who truly belonged atop the NBA mountain. And while each player led their team to historic victories, it was their rivalry that defined basketball's golden era, leaving fans with memories of epic duels that still resonate decades later. Michael Jordan, the rookie revelation. MJ's 1984 NBA debut sent shockwaves through the league. The league knew it was witnessing something special. One of the first to recognize this was Bird. In their very first clash, Jordan lit up the court with a jaw-dropping 49-point performance that stunned everyone, including Bird himself. "I thought I was watching God disguised as Michael Jordan," Bird famously said. For the Celtics star, Jordan wasn't just good, he was incredibly talented. Their rivalry reached mythical heights during the 1986 playoffs, where the Celtics faced Jordan's Bulls in a showdown. Though Boston ultimately swept Chicago, MJ's performance stood out, particularly his record-setting 63-point explosion in Game 2. Bird didn't even try to diminish the feat. Instead, he praised it with awe. "There's nothing you can do when a guy plays like that. It was unbelievable." Bird was known as the ultimate competitor, but MJ's athleticism redefined what greatness looked like. Of course, MJ admired Bird too. Reflecting on their battles, Jordan once said, "Larry had a way of making basketball look easy. He was incredibly smart and had that killer instinct that every player dreams of finding in themselves." Their matchup wasn't about hate or ego. It was a master bidding farewell to the spotlight while the next generation's icon ascended. For fans, watching Bird and Jordan go toe-to-toe was gripping. An experience of seeing the basketball torch being passed from one legend to another. Their rivalry might have been short-lived compared to others, but it was enough to cement their collective impact on the game's history. Kevin McHale, the practice rival. When it comes to Bird's toughest opponents, one might expect names like Magic and Michael Jordan, but Bird himself often pointed to someone unexpected, a teammate. Kevin McHale, the Celtics forward, wasn't just an ally on game day. He was the relentless competitor who pushed Bird to his limits every single practice. Their battles behind closed doors often felt more intense than actual NBA games. McHale's incredible skill set made him a horror story for defenders. His immaculate footwork, soft touch around the rim, and ability to outthink opponents in the post forced Bird to dig deep and improve in one of the game's most challenging areas. Bird often joked that McHale could do everything except let me score in practice. In fact, Bird openly admitted to reporters, "Kevin was the toughest guy I've ever faced in the paint. There were days he shut me down and yeah, it drove me crazy, but it made me better." It wasn't a one-sided affair. McHale would later credit Bird with making practices feel like battles of survival. Larry never stopped. He didn't dial it down for practice. He was just as brutal as he was in games, McHale once said, laughing, about Bird's infamous trash-talking that fueled their duels. Every drill, every scrimmage turned into something personal. A missed basket wasn't just a mistake, it was ammunition for Bird's relentless banter. This rivalry was the secret weapon behind the Celtics' dominance in the 1980s. While opposing teams saw only the polished perfection of Bird and McHale working together on game day, their behind-the-scenes battles sharpened the skills that fueled one of history's greatest teams. For Bird, McHale wasn't just a teammate. He was the crucible in which his greatness was forged. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the Skyhook challenge. When Bird matched up against Kareem, it was a collision of contrasting forces. Kareem was already an established legend, wielding his devastating Skyhook, a move so iconic it's often considered the single most unstoppable shot in basketball. For Bird, playing against Kareem wasn't just challenging, it was an impossible mystery. He once declared he was the hardest guy to guard because he had no weaknesses. Their rivalry heated up during the Celtics-Lakers finals, showdowns of the 1980s. These battles became instant classics, pitting the grit of Boston against the star power of Los Angeles. Kareem anchored his team with poise and experience, while Bird countered with his trademark intensity and flair. Every possession felt like a chess match, with both players working to outwit one another. Bird respected Kareem's consistency, especially as someone who thrived well into his 30s. To Bird, that longevity became an inspiration. You knew Kareem would score 20 points, get double-digit rebounds, and lead his team smoothly every single night, Bird noted in interviews. And Kareem returned the favor, saying Bird had the rare ability to see plays before they happened. Larry could turn a game on a dime. One minute you're defending him well, the next it's a three-point dagger in your face. While the Celtics and Lakers symbolized basketball's most iconic rivalry, Bird versus Kareem added another dimension. It wasn't just about skill or scoring. It was a battle between two basketball brains operating at genius levels. Together, they gave fans not just incredible games, but unforgettable lessons in greatness. These rivalries were more than matchups. They were battles that forged Larry Bird's legendary status and solidified his place in basketball history. Bird didn't simply encounter greatness, he took it head-on, competed with it, and thrived because of it. His fiercest opponents forced him to elevate his game, shaping him into one of the sport's ultimate champions. Each challenge was a test, and Bird's ability to rise above proved that true greatness is built in the fires of competition. Well, that's all for this one. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.